Hello and welcome to this on-demand session at the GUESS EdTech Virtual Summit Dubai. My name is Chris and I've been asked to show you in about 20 minutes some quick tips on how to use Google Workspace for education for remote learning and also just for increasing productivity. And I was thinking about how to present this to you guys, and I thought the best way and probably the best way to show you why I like Google tools and Google products is just to actually build this presentation with you. So let me flip over to my screen and you can see I'm just starting here on the Google homepage. Now I'm already signed into my Google account and I'm just going to go up here to some people call it the waffle, I'm going to call it the Google Apps menu, and I'm going to click on that and come down here and I'm going to use Google Jamboard. Now some of you might not have used Google Jamboard before. It's an excellent tool for putting all your ideas together, but also collaboratively working with students, with colleagues online. Now you can see I don't have any Jamboards right now, so I'm just going to come down here to the bottom right hand corner, click on New Jam, and I can start my Jamboard. Now you can kind of think of a Jamboard like a whiteboard in its essence, but in a collaborative nature. So here is my first slide or my first screen in my Jam, and I can come here and I can start to think of my topics and start to plan out my work. So I'm going to use this sticky note here and I'm going to come up with one of my first things that I really love about using Google in schools is the collaborative tools. Collaborative tools. So I can just write that. I can pick a color. I'm just going to pick yellow for now and I'm going to click save. And you can see it's already asking me for another tool. It's just really intuitive, really helping me just get the work done. So along with collaborative tools, we've got a suite of communication tools as well. So communication tools, incredibly important at this time. After communication tools, I definitely want to talk about the cost. And then after cost, Chromebooks. Again, just a fantastic part of the Google ecosystem. And press OK. Now that I've made my 4 points, I'm just going to cancel out of there and let me rearrange them. You see how quick it is? How smooth it is just to use Google Jamboard here just to put out my thoughts, my ideas. Cost and then Chromebooks. Fantastic. Okay, so collaborative tools. Let me add another post-it note here. Collaborative tools. So I know that I want to talk about how you can share documents. Let me click on that, and also how to use Google Drive. Okay, fantastic. So share documents. Let me put this here on Google Drive. The next thing I want to talk about, communication tools. Normally, in any organization, it's very important to have a streamlined set of communication tools, particularly when we've got people remote working and nearly every day is a different situation. We're never quite sure right now exactly who's going to be inside a building and exactly what type of work we're going to do. So communication tools. Let's definitely talk about Google Meet. Let me put the word Google in there. Google like it when I do that. Google Meet. Let's talk about Rooms, a fantastic new feature that lets people collaborate inside groups. Let's talk about Jamboard. Again, another great feature. Let me put Google Drive there. So Google Meet, Rooms, and Jamboard. Fantastic collaborative tools. Cost. Let me talk about cost. So let me talk about how it's free for education. That's free for students, free for staff. Let me talk about that. And then Chromebooks. Let me open up another post-it note and I'm going to do Chromebooks, how they're scalable, how they're very cost effective. And I think that'll do. If anything pops in my head, I can add that on later. So there we go. This is my presentation. I'm ready to go. So let's talk about the first one, collaborative tools, how I can share documents and Google Drive. Now I want to get some feedback from my colleague on this document. So let me click up here in the share button and then I can start to type in my colleague's email address. Let me click send. Or first of all, just check he's an editor so he can edit the document with me. I could just give him view access so he can see it. And typically I'll do that with my students just so they can see a Jamboard with me and not be able to change it. But in this case, I want Paul to be able to edit it with me. So let me hit the send button and just wait for him to log in. Great, Paul's just connected. So it says he's joined and I can see who's connected to this document up here. Let's just see if I've covered everything. Oh, looks like I missed Google Classroom out. Thank you very much, Paul. So Paul's added this post-it note in this Jamboard for me, and he's now moving it into the right place. And I can see him editing it as live in this document. So thank you very much, Paul. Right, let's look at some other tools inside Google that's going to help me out with remote learning and working with my colleagues. So let's have a look at Google Drive. For anyone getting started with Google Workspace, you can always find all the tools by opening a new tab and going to the apps menu here. And I'm just going to go to Google Drive and have a look. So Google Drive lets me save all my files, start new projects and start new work, and also lets me collaborate with my colleagues and students. So I've got my drive here with all of my files in, and I can create new files by clicking on New, create Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Docs, or even load my old Microsoft Word files and old presentations and load them up. But to highlight the collaboration tools, we've also got shared drives here. Now shared drives lets me come in here and have a shared area where I can work with a colleague. So for example, here you can see our Learn IT training, our courses, and I can see here all of the exam practice materials for Google Educator Level 1. And I can see who's collaborating in here with me by clicking on 3 people. And I can see that my colleagues here are working in this shared drive. So any changes that happen will automatically update. And we can be in all different parts of the world. In fact, you know, us 3 here, I'm currently in the UK, Paul is in Dubai, and Nabil travels all around. So we're always connected, always working, even if we're in the office, at home, or on the other side of the world. Let me close Google Drive. So let's have a look at communication tools here. Let's have a look at this Google Classroom. So again, I'm going to open up a new tab. I'm going to click on these dots over here, and then I'm going to go to Google Classroom. Let me just have a look for it. Okay, so here's Google Classroom. Let me create a new class. So I can click on this plus up here and create a class. I can pick a name. Let me call this just a demo classroom and press create. Now what I can do after I created a Google Classroom is send an invite code to all my students or even directly invite them in. I get a few warnings and pop-ups every now and then. I'm just going to ignore these for now. And I'm going to go to classwork. Now inside classwork, I can create assignments and posts for my students by just simply clicking on create and clicking on assignment. But notice I can also create quizzes, questions, post material, and even reuse old posts from other Google Classrooms, or perhaps even my classroom from last year. A real time saver there. So I'm going to click on create and I'm going to make a new assignment. Again, it's helping me out, all these kind of little tours that are going on to help me out. I'm going to set an assignment. Please check this out. And I can set here some instructions for my class. In this case, I'm not going to. And I can add a document. So I'm going to add from my Google Drive. I'm going to add that virtual summit. Let's include that for them. And let's make it so every student will get their own copy. That will let every student work on their own work, and I can then mark it straight inside Google Classroom. I can add a YouTube clip to help them out. Let's say I was doing something on the North Pole. So quickly search YouTube, and there you go. Why nobody can survive in the North Pole. I'm going to add that video in so students can watch that as well. Always keeping that connection with my class. Decide how many points this assignment is worth. In this case, it's not going to be worth anything. And set when the due date is. Very handy feature. If you set the due date, it will then email the parents to say when the homework's due. Decide if it's got a topic. I can put everything in categories. In this case, I'm not going to. Decide which students will see this if I want to differentiate the work or build some scaffolding for different students. And even, I've only got one class here, but even I could post it to 2 or 3 of the same classes if I teach many classes. And then I can click assign. Sending out an assignment to students will then pop up automatically on their phones, on their Chromebooks, or on any device that's connected to the internet that they can see a normal website. So students, if they've got a Chromebook, or they've got a phone or a tablet or a desktop or a laptop, wherever they are in the world, I can be assured that now they can access their work, they can submit it, and they can even click on here and watch that YouTube video so they know what they're doing. So it's an incredible feature there. Let me go back to my Jamboard here. So let's look at Google Meet. So Google Meet is inbuilt into Google Classroom now. So I can go to Stream and I can generate a Google Meet link. By clicking on this, let's generate that Meet link and make sure it's visible to students and click Save. Now, when students log into my Google Classroom, they can click on this link to join my class. It could be an online class, a virtual class. I can even share the screen. Now, it's very difficult to do while I'm screen recording here, but let's give it a go, see what happens. So I'm going to click on this. My Meet's already ready. I'm going to allow it to use everything. And let me see. Oh, it's picked up a different camera. Now I've got lots of cameras selected, so let me come in here and let me pick up a different camera. So let me go into the settings and pick up the microphone. That's fine. Let me do my microphone here and let me do my normal camera here. Video, my normal camera. See the integrated one. Great. And there you can see me from a different angle from my integrated camera. You can blur the background or change the background. For now, let's just blur it. Or even heavily blur it. And this is all happening in the Chrome browser. My students don't need to download anything. And you can see that's a very, very nice effect to focus your students on the learning. Then I can click Join Now. And I can send this code to my students, or they can go back to Google Classroom, click on that link, and instantly join my code. Now, because I came from Google Classroom, and I got my students to use that code, students can't join unless I'm there. There's other ways you can join, make a Google Meet, but for teaching remotely, I would always suggest using that top link up there with your classes. Now that I'm in, I've got a few different controls. I can raise my hand and students can raise their hand. I can come up here and I can do activities such as breakout rooms, polls, and even a Q&A session. I can see chat, who is talking in my Google Classroom, and I can click on here, see who's in my Google Classroom here, and decide how it looks. Now, you might have used Google Meet. If you used Google Meet like a year ago, you can see there's been a huge amount of new features. In fact, seems like every week they're adding more and more new features here. If I click on more options, I can come up here. I can change the layout of my screen to a tiled mode, which is something that's also new. I can click on here. I can turn on captions, which is a really, really handy feature if you've got students that are hearing impaired or have different needs. So I can make sure there's captions, and you can see it's very, very clear, and it's always kind of picking up as anyone speaks in that room. I can come in here now. I don't have this enabled on this account, but very simply, there's a button here to record the session as well. So you click that, and it's going to start recording and automatically send to your email address. So it's all built into Google Meet. Let me just click on here. I can then also put attachments if I wanted to, if there's anything that's coming from Google, the Google Calendar. Let me leave the call. Bye, everyone. And there I've left the call. Now, just a little tip, please, it's much better if you make sure your students leave before you leave. If you make sure the students leave and you're the last one out the door, as it were, then students can't reconnect. So that's Google Classroom, that's Google Meet. Fantastic tools for working remotely. Let me close this down. Rooms. Now, Rooms is an incredible new feature inside Google Chat. Let me click on the plus here. Let's always start with a new browser window, new browser tab. Let me click on Google Apps over here, and I should see Google Chat. Now, if you're using Google from Google G Suite last year, before they changed over to Workspaces and added all these incredible new tools, Google Chat used to be part of, I think it was called Hangouts Chat for a while. But by clicking on Chat, I've got here now this incredible new tool. Now, what I can do is I can start a new chat with a colleague. So let me press plus here, and I can type in the name of my colleague. Let's start a chat with Paul, and press create. And straight away, I'm chatting with Paul. If he's got this installed on his phone, it's going to start pinging up like WhatsApp. I'm inside my Chrome browser, and if Paul is in his Gmail account, then this will automatically synchronize and come up on the left-hand side of his screen. So you really have a kind of connected environment where everyone in an organization can be talking. Now, of course, you can disable this for students, and when we work with schools to transition them over to Google, that's definitely the step that we suggest, and just using this tool for staff. Hi, Paul. Just demoing Google Chat. I can attach things from my Google Drive. There we go. Let's send him that Jamboard that I've been working on. And let's add an emotion. I'm very happy. Let's post that to Paul. And it's asking me, saying, I haven't shared this with Paul yet. Are you sure you want to? And this is a really good thing with Google, because we've got that integration between communication and work. It's always checking, it's always integrated, it's always making sure it's doing the right thing. So I'm just going to let one person view it. I'm not going to give him edit access. I'm going to click send. Fantastic. Maybe I want to have a little chat with Paul later on Google Meet. Again, integrated just right here. So let's add a video meeting. Hi, Paul. Let's meet later. And I'll post that to Paul. Now, Paul's got notifications in his Gmail that these chats are waiting for him. And he's got, if he's logged in, as soon as he gets logged into Gmail, these will ping up. So he can talk to them, he can respond to them, he can reply to them. Let's say we want a group of people to working. This could be this could be a department, a year group, maybe a working group, a team, maybe even like the admin team, like human resources, like HR or accounts. Let's click on rooms. Let's create a room. Let's call this year 3 team. Okay, and I could include the names. Now, if I've already got Google set up, I can set up mailing groups. So if I've got a year 3 team already set up, I just need to put in the year 3 group, and they're already in. Let's send that to Paul. Great. Now I've got a room set up. Other people can join this. I can even put bots in to help me. Let's start a new thread in the year team. Let's talk about our virtual parents evening that's coming up. Parents evening. Be exciting. And let's send that. Now, by starting a thread, this will let my colleagues reply to that thread, but also start other threads. So we can start another thread. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about our planning. Let's do a central place where we can chat about planning. And now my colleagues can come in, and we've got 2 threads that we can start talking about these 2 different topics. So it's incredibly powerful to then bring communication into more of a theme-based conversation rather than emails, which can get quite lost everywhere. So Google Chat with Rooms, particularly, incredible set of tools to really streamline communication. And when you get all of those emails that come through and you just can't find the right one, Google Rooms, Google Chat just helps you find that kind of communication. So wonderful new tool that's come out. Let me come back here. Jamboard. Well, I'm already done Jamboard. I've created those post-it notes. I've shared it with my colleague, and even he's come in and just reminded me that I forgot Google Classroom. How can anyone forget Google Classroom? So the cost. Well, Google Workspace is free for education. Incredible set of resources. You get free emails, unlimited free accounts, free storage for all of your staff and students. There is no better time to set it up if you haven't already. It's free, so try it. If it doesn't work for you, then it hasn't cost you anything. But I'm sure even just the Google Meet, Jamboard, and Google Classroom are enough to start using it and having a go. Chromebooks. Now, I'm sure we've all had that moment where students have been telling us that they haven't been able to connect online, they don't have a computer, or there's one computer for four children. Perhaps they're using their mother's phone. So, Chromebooks. What are Chromebooks? Chromebooks are very, very affordable computers. They're just like laptops, but they let you connect straight into Google's infrastructure. Let me use Google Jamboard to just find a picture of one. I can add a picture. I've already actually searched for Google straight inside Google Images, search for Chromebooks. Let me insert one of those there. Brilliant. They're scalable, they're cost effective. Let me have a look to see the Google Chromebook. And here we are, Google's page on Google Chromebooks. Brilliant devices, very affordable. Okay, so those would be 1, 2, 3, 4. My 4 main reasons to use Google. Incredible set of tools. Google Rooms are a real highlight for organizations working remotely. Google Classroom is the heartbeat of learning inside Google definitely in this time. Thank you for joining me. I hope you got something out of this, and if you've got any questions, then feel free to contact me through the virtual contacting system. Have a great conference.